Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The Tech Guy Show is a radio show I do, syndicated nationwide by the premier radio networks. That means about 130 stations all over the country and in Canada, and listened to, of course, by many people all over the internet. We do make this video version available, but because we didn't want you to download 6 hours a week of video, we edited it down to the best. Only the best few hours survive. These shows were broadcast Saturday and Sunday, September 4th and 5th, 2010. You're about to see a cut down from episodes 697 and 698. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about tech, computers and the internet, cell phones and camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all the stuff that makes our lives fun, entertaining, interesting, the stuff that challenges existing businesses to reinvent themselves, the stuff that is changing our world, and yet is kind of the toy store, which I enjoy that. You know, it's fun, it's interesting, nobody dies, but it's also pretty darn important. Sometimes you wonder, though, you know, sometimes there's so much trivial and silly stuff, and the tech press just goes off and on and off and on about silly things. Sometimes you wonder how important this is. For instance, Apple. On Wednesday, Apple had their big announcement. And as I said last week, we knew it would be new iPods. It was. We were hoping it would be a new Apple TV. It was, but a little disappointing, and I'll talk about why that is. Not disappointing. Actually, the truth is, yeah, I guess I'm a little disappointed. It may have made sense for Apple from a business point of view. I think not. I haven't ever made any money second-guessing Apple. They seem to kind of know what they're doing. So I won't second-guess them on that. But I will tell you why I'd hoped for something else. They announced something that was a total flop, in my opinion. And this is the new social network. Everybody wants to do a social network. It's the hot thing, isn't it? So we'll start with the least interesting, least successful thing that Apple did on Wednesday, which is the new iTunes. iTunes 10 came out. Well, when you make a jump in version number, like from 9.1 to 10, usually you expect a big jump in functionality. And really, there wasn't a big jump in functionality. Apple changed the icon. That made sense because the icon was a CD, and that was since Apple now sells more digital downloads than are sold, CDs are sold in the world. I guess changing the icon from the CD to kind of this blue thing made a lot of sense. They and Steve highlighted this, and I don't know why, because it's about the most trivial thing I could ever imagine. They changed how albums are displayed in the library listing so that the album, if you have more than 5 songs in an album, now the album art shows up. Silly. And if you have fewer than 5, it doesn't. Steve actually spent time talking about that. But the real big thing, and the thing that he spent the most time on talking about was, of course, ping, iTunes, ping. We got buzz, we got Twitter, and we got ping. It's like a big sound effects gallery, isn't it? So Ping is built into iTunes. It's a social network that you cannot get to any other way. You can't get to through the web. You can't get through a dedicated client on your iPhone or any other device. And the idea is you share, you create a profile, you follow artists, although there are very precious few artists on here right now. There need to be more artists on here. And because I put in a bunch of the artists that I'm interested in, and none of them were on there yet. I guess I presume they will be in time. Even Cake, the musical group that does the new iPod ad, doesn't have an artist page on Ping. So, And And then the thing that Ping does is it collates your purchases, not what's in your library. It doesn't do that. It just what you buy on iTunes, and says here's the music I like, and then I guess people follow me, and I guess there's a lot. Apple's all excited because there's 160 million iTunes users, 160 million people with credit cards who could click to buy an iTunes. That's a lot of people. And so they thought, well, this will be great because we'll have 160 million users. That'll put us right up there with, it'll beat the MySpace right out of the box, which is now basically a social music site. And apparently quite a few people did join. I don't know how many millions. Enough so that Facebook, which originally, when the deal went down, when Steve announced the deal on stage on Wednesday, and showed Ping, it had a thing that connects to Facebook, connect to your Facebook friends. That disappeared very early on. Turns out that Facebook declined. They said no. The story goes that Facebook allows people to do that for a small number. But if you want to do, a lot of people, well, you got to make a deal with Facebook, and Apple couldn't make a deal. Jobs was a little upset, frankly, that Apple couldn't make that deal. My suspicion is it had nothing to do with the number of people. I'm sure Facebook could have handled it. It had a heck of a lot to do with the fact that Facebook didn't like it, that Apple was doing a social network. Don't worry, Facebook, you're safe. This connects to nothing. And if you have more than one person, as I do, my entire family's on my iTunes account, it may be a little misrepresentative of what you listen to. See, on my profile, I say I like classical music, singer-songwriter music, and spoken word, like my show. But the music I like album list is Ludacris, Black Eyed Peas, T.I., Jay-Z. It's rap because guess what? That's what my son, who is the only person really who buys music on iTunes anymore. So my son buys. So if you're following me on iTunes, I have, I'm sorry, I have my apologies. Don't follow me there for the music, because the truth is, I don't even buy music on iTunes most of the time. I buy it on Amazon, where it's usually cheaper and it's not copy protected. It is, it's MP3. I mean, there's just a lot of reasons. I guess iTunes music isn't copy protected anymore, but when it was, I would, that's how I got in the habit of going to Amazon, and well, I'm still, that's where I buy my music. So you won't see it on iTunes. I have to talk my son into start doing that. So this is a social network that is just basically doomed from the start. I mean, it's nice because Apple does bring to it a lot of users, but I don't see this as taking off. I'm doing the worst to the best. The other bad thing, I think, was Apple TV. Now, you could debate that Apple announced it's a hockey puck-sized device. You hook up to the internet via wireless or wired, and then you hook up to your TV via HDMI connector only. So don't try to use it with any other TV. It's only HDMI. And it doesn't have any storage. It streams, and it streams from two places. The iTunes store, where you rent TV shows for 99 cents, or you rent movies for $2.99 to $4.99. Or it attaches to Netflix if you have a Netflix account. And that's it. It competes with a lot of different devices, some built into TVs, like the Yahoo widgets. We're coming out in a lot of TVs now. Do that and more. It competes with the Roku box, which doesn't hook up to iTunes, but does hook up to Amazon, does hook up to Netflix, and a bunch of other stuff. The Roku box is cheaper, does more. I'm a little disappointed. The little hockey puck that Apple's going to sell for $99 is running Apple's iOS operating system, the iPhone and iPad operating system. We know that because it has a A4 processor in it. So that means it's an iOS device, which means it could have been just like the iPhone or the iPad. It could have been, well, this is what I was hoping for and what I talked about last week. It could have run apps. Then, if it doesn't do what you want, it only does iTunes and Netflix, well, no problem, because there's a Hulu app. Just download the Hulu app. Now it does Hulu. Or you could have an NFL app, and it could do the NFL, and you pay a subscription fee not to the cable company, not to Apple, but to the NFL. Apple would get its cut. Apple would get its 30% cut. It would have been a good deal for Apple. Wouldn't have been such a good deal for the cable company. Maybe that's why Apple didn't do it. It certainly would have been a good thing for users. an extensible device, a device you put on the TV and then add whatever shows you want to watch a la carte. Not merely show-by-show rented from iTunes. Yeah, that's one way. But you could buy them on Amazon. Amazon still sells shows. In fact, Amazon responded to this, by the way, by cutting the price of shows to own to 99 cents. So you could rent it from Apple for 2 days for 99 cents or buy it and own it from Amazon for 99 cents. Which would you choose? Problem is, it doesn't work with the new Apple TV. It only works with the Roku box or, other devices. Your Xbox 360. Apple really had, I think, a shot at this. Now, some say, well, Apple's going to move slow. They'll do applications. In time, they'll do applications. Maybe. But, boy, Google's coming out with Google TV that I can pretty much guarantee is going to have apps. On Logitech, Sony's going to put it in their TV sets. Dish is going to put it in their satellite boxes. And that's going to happen maybe even this Wednesday. As Google has a big announcement on Wednesday. They're stealing a little play from the Apple playbook. Secret announcement coming up Wednesday. If they announce Google TV or Google Music, they also apparently are working on a music solution. Apple could, but see, Apple's confident. What I see there is confidence. Steve basically says, go ahead, Google. Go ahead. Give it your best shot. Go ahead. Let's see what you can do. And then they'll respond. They could have been a preemptive strike, but instead they kind of saved their powder. They did a little something which could be extended pretty much any time, I guess. I mean, probably they could push a button and add apps. But they decided not to do that this time around. Maybe they thought it was too confusing. That's one of the things Steve said. He says people don't want a computer, and that's true, on their TV. They just want something simple, easy. But I think they also want functionality. And I think people understand how iPhones work now, how iPads work. I think we would have loved it. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to take your calls. 8888 Ask Leo. Tell me what you think, and then we'll talk about the new iPods, because those are the winners. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Love to hear from you if you want to talk computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, the Apple announcements. I have to say, now that I've got Ping and Apple TV, Ping, which was a non-starter, Apple TV, which was a disappointment, out of the way, I think the new iPods are fantastic. It's interesting. Apple went backwards, didn't they? Remember last year at this time, they announced the iPod Shuffle, which looked like a stick of dentine. No buttons, just a piece of metal. The buttons are on the headsets, and you lose those, you can't control the darn thing. Apparently, nobody liked that idea because Apple took a step back and killed that product, went back to the Shuffle before it with the buttons and all the same thing. So it was a very rare acknowledgement, tacit, but I think pretty clear acknowledgement, very rare from Apple that this was a flop. This didn't work. The Nano's interesting, and I did order a Nano. Of the three, I think the Nano's the most interesting, but I'll have to hold it to see. It's got a very tiny screen. It's just a little bigger than the Shuffle. About the size of a postage stamp. It's got a clip on it, but it has a screen on it. Touch screen with the pinch and zoom and all that, which is wild. If that screen, I think it's 240 by 240, if it's usable, that could be huge. It doesn't show video, but you could do pictures on it. But what I really thought was interesting, again, I'll have to wait and see, it has a clock face. I'm thinking this is the new wristwatch, isn't it? You get a little holder for it on your wrist, or you clip it to your lapel. I could see a whole fashion thing going here. And there's your watch, and it's your music, too. $149 for 8 gigs. A little pricey. Should have been a little less, but would have loved to see it at $99. I think it would sell like hotcakes at $99, but you know what? Apple knows what they're doing. It'll probably sell like hotcakes at $149. And then the iPod Touch, which essentially builds in all the features of the iPhone 4 into the iPod Touch, which is, Apple admitted, the best-selling iPod right now because it's going to have the Retina display, that beautiful screen. It's doubling the resolution of the Touch. That's going to look fantastic. It will do FaceTime. It has 2 cameras, front-facing camera for FaceTime. They needed to do something because FaceTime is also a non-starter. I said from the beginning, nobody wants to make video calls. Maybe Skype on your desktop, maybe, but I don't, nobody's going to walk around holding their phone out in front of them saying, hey, how are you? Walking down the street. That's trouble guaranteed. I just don't see that happening. However, having the iPod Touches supported at least increases the universe. At least you can call somebody besides an iPhone 4 owner. But a caveat, a very big caveat. You may get all excited about the iPod Touch, as I was, thinking, hey, this could replace my point-and-shoot camera, as well as my iPod, and even make FaceTime calls in Wi-Fi areas. But this is a pretty full-function device. For some reason, Apple did not put the same camera chip into this as they put into the iPhone. So the iPhone, which is the best camera phone on the market easily, really nice. It's only 5 megapixels, but the image quality is superb. If they had put that same camera in the iPod Touch, I would say, yeah, they didn't. It's kind of a low-resolution camera in the iPod Touch. I guess they didn't want to cannibalize, I don't know, iPhone 4 sales. I don't know. But don't buy it as a camera because it's really not a very good camera. It's a little disappointing. You know, tomorrow we should get Trey Ratcliffe on, our HDR expert, because I want him to explain. Apple also announced that they will update the iPhones, iPod Touches with version 4.1 of iOS. And one of the new features is something called HDR. And you probably heard us talk about it on the show. High dynamic range photography. Apple's building it into their phones now. So it takes 3 images, mixes them together to give you a better tonal range. It's an interesting idea. May not be the first feature I would build into a phone, but interesting. But I think Trey will explain it isn't exactly it's not true HDR. It's a kind of HDR called tone mapping. We'll talk about that. I'll see if I can get Trey on tomorrow in the photography segment in the 3rd hour. And we'll talk about that. Let's get to the phones right. Anyway, there's a summary of the Apple announcement. Google has a big announcement on Wednesday. Be very interesting. It might just be a simple old search announcement. That's what some say, based on the people who will be speaking, including Marissa Meyer, who's in charge of search and the user interface. It could just be here's what's happening with search. But it also could be the big Google announcements we've been waiting for. A Google social network, Google Music, Google TV. All 3 of these products should come out sometime this year. And this whether Apple says it out loud or not, this is really what Apple's watching carefully. And I think what Apple's decided is we're going to let Google stumble. We'll let them take the first step off the cliff. We'll watch carefully to see how they bounce, and then we'll do our thing. That's my take on it. Let's go to the phones. Phone number is 888-827-5536. Easier to remember, 8888 Ask Leo. Patricia's on the line from Sacramento, California, our first call of the day. Hi, Patricia.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I have a question. So I have 2 phones right now. One, I have a Palm Trio, which I've just been holding on to for a long time with Sprint, and then I also have the iPhone. But I want to consolidate down and just have one line, and I want to get the HTC Evo. I ordered it, and they have a phone waiting for me, but I'm kind of I want to know what your thoughts are on the HTC Evo.
I love the Evo, and I love Android. A couple of things I'll say. For iPhone users, it's a little harder to figure out initially. It's more like a computer because there's more stuff you can do. It's much more powerful. The negative on the Evo, the only negative is battery life.
Right.
You will have to, when you get to work, plug it in. And when you get in the car, plug it in because it will not go a full day.
Wow.
It's not as good as the iPhone 4. You have a 4?
No, I actually have the 3GS.
I love the Evo. I use its brother, the Droid. Hold on, we'll talk more about that in a second. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. The most exciting category really these days in technology is the cell phone. That's where it's all happening. It's not happening on the desktop or the laptop anymore. It's happening in your pocket. It's a party in your pants. And I have to say, the competition between Apple, Google with their Android phones is hot as can be. And, of course, BlackBerry's in it. Not doing as well. The new BlackBerry Torch, a little bit of a disappointment. And we're waiting for October or early November, I think it'll be next month, for Windows Phone 7 from Microsoft, their response. The Palm is kind of out of the picture these days. They got sold, and the assets for WebOS and the Pre and everything got sold to HP. And I don't think HP's in the phone business. I really don't. They probably want to use it for tablets. So really what we've got here, you can count out, I have to say, I think you can count out Nokia at this point, is a 3-way race between Apple, Google, and a bunch of Google phones made by a bunch of manufacturers. See, Google's more like the Windows, the Microsoft model. Google makes the operating system, gives it away, by the way. They don't charge for it. And then manufacturers make the phone based on the operating system with customizations, just as, say, Dell or HP or Gateway will take Windows and make their own PCs out of it. And Apple, just like Macintoshes, makes the phone, makes the software and the hardware, and that's it. And so I like the variety of choices. Patricia's thinking about trading up to an Evo. You want to stay on Sprint, right, Patricia?
Yeah, I want to stay on Sprint, and I have a pretty good deal with them, so I just want to stay on with them. But I don't know if the Evo is the best way to go or one of the other ones.
I love the Evo. You know, I played with the Evo, and as I said, my only complaint was the battery life, but people in the chat room are telling me that now that they've pushed the latest version of the operating system, 2.2 of Android on it, that it's better battery life. And that does make sense. 2.2 is a little more efficient. You know, do you need a keyboard?
Not necessarily. I mean, I've been using the iPhone without a problem.
I think you'll like the Evo better because it's such a big screen, you know, 4.3-inch screen compared to that little iPhone screen. It's much easier. It's much easier to type on.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And then just the interface with Google, like you were saying, that's really what I want right now, to be able to. One of the limitations with what I found with the iPhone is that I can only, I can't download my notes, like my document, the little notes that I type on my iPhone. I can't access them on my computer.
Yeah. No, Google, I have to say, if you're a Google user, and I am, I mean, I use Gmail for my mail, Calendar for my calendar, Contacts, Google Voice. If you're in the Google universe, there is nothing like an Evo. I use a Droid X from Verizon, very, very similar.
Okay.
You just log into your Google account. It's all set up. All your contacts are in there. Your calendar's in there. Everything you need automatically in there. I love the Google Voice integration because I can, here's a cool thing. If you set up a Google Voice account, it's free. You can have all your calls from your phone can be Google Voice. I set it so only international calls are. So I save a lot of money on international calls.
Yeah, and I call a lot internationally.
You'll love that. So it's using Google Voice. The quality's great. And then here's another thing. I set it up so that when my cell phone rings through Google Voice, I also rings my Google Voice on my computer, so I can answer calls. I just discovered this the other day. My phone's ringing, but I notice, because I have, you have the call phone in Gmail now. Oh, my computer's ringing, and I answered it on the computer. I did the phone call on the computer, which was so much easier than picking up the phone.
Oh, yeah.
It completely bypasses your carrier, so there's no minutes. It's awesome.
Oh, okay. That's great.
The integration blows me away. And then there's features now on Google that Apple cannot compete with. I think there's a couple of simple things, like widgets on the desktop, which lets you put a big clock there, or your calendar, which makes it easy to do. You don't have to open an application. Everything you do on an iPhone, it's an application. They've got a back button, which sounds like a silly thing, but it's kind of like the back button on your browser. You can go back through the things you've done one by one. With Apple, you have to exit out with a home button and open another app. Exit out, open another app. You don't have to do that on the Google phone. You just press the back button. Every phone should have a back button. And here's the new thing on 2.2 that you'll see on the Evo. It's this new voice command thing where you can press the button and say, play AC/DC, or play next, or play previous, or call home, or you talk to the phone, and it does it.
I see. And then the software for the computer, there's no I have a Mac right now. And
there is no software for the computer.
None at all. Oh, okay. I didn't realize.
Now, it doesn't use iTunes, but I do recommend a free program called TWiT.
Okay.
It's kind of iTunes for Android. It does everything iTunes does. It'll pull your songs from your iTunes account. It doesn't take them out of there, but it sees them. It sees your playlists. It will sync them to the phone. You can also install applications that way, just as you do with iTunes. It's free. It's called TWiT. I really like it.
Okay.
But you don't even need to use that because the Google phones are really designed to be done over the air. Apple requires you to connect your iPhone to the computer. You have to. Just to get it to start up. No Google phone ever requires that. I
see. Yeah. I think it was just more for getting my contacts and my music.
Put those contacts you put those in Google in Google Voice. In the context section, or in Gmail in the context section. You might, if it's all on Apple right now, you'll do one import from Apple to Google. If you're using a Macintosh, you can actually log into your Google account in Address Book, have it sync Then from then on, any change you make on the phone or on Google or on address book is propagated everywhere without ever connecting that little connector. Music, you're right, you still have to connect it, and you have two ways of doing it. All the Google phones will show up as a USB drive when you connect them via the USB cable. Then you just drag and drop if you want.
I see. Okay.
Or you can use double twist if you want to do some synchronization. I find it easy just to drag and say, take this, take this, take this, and it's on the SD card, and now your player will play it.
I see. Okay, great.
It couldn't be easier, I have to say.
That's great.
And Bill Handel on KFI, who I told his whole family bought these on my recommendation, he says, Leo, it's too complicated. It is more like a computer.
Yeah, I heard him say that yesterday.
Yeah, it's too complicated. I can't figure. I said the on button's on top, Bill. People are used to the iPhone. Look, the iPhone was complicated if you were going from a BlackBerry or worse, just a feature phone. It was complicated the first time you used it. It's like that. It is more like a computer. There are more settings, more buttons, more knobs, but I like that choice. I like the functionality of it.
Okay.
Give it some time. If you go in the Sprint store, say, give me a little tour. And they'll help you out. There's great applications. Boy, and you know what's the one thing that Apple really was killing Android with was games. The games on the iPhone and the iPod Touch, and Apple really pushed this, by the way, at their event, are spectacular. They're really a great variety. But they're catching up now on Android. In fact, Angry Birds, which is one of the most popular iPhone games out there, is now out for Android. They're Assassin's Creed, Dungeon Keeper, all the games. It's just because Android is coming on so strong and so many phones are being installed. Google says 200,000 a day. There's a real market. And so all the game manufacturers now are putting out games for Android. So that's the one that was the one category where there really was a little disconnect. That's really changed.
Okay.
I think you'll enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yep. Get that Evo. Don't hold back. We're talking to Rhonda in Huntington Beach, California. She's obviously a superstar. She has 5,000, well, close to it, Facebook fans. What do you do that you have so many fans, Rhonda?
Well, I'm an author, and I'm a columnist.
I see.
And I was just kind of recruited by Welcome Home Troops to entertain incoming troops because of my book. It's a relationship-saving book that, and since the divorce rate is so high now with the troops, and my book has humor in it, they have me out at bases, and I'm having a blast.
Oh, that's so great. Good for you. Well, and that's where Facebook really is a great value, although they would say, and I'll just channel them briefly, that they don't want you to use your personal Facebook, which you are doing, and by the way, I did, your personal Facebook page. They want you to use a Facebook Pages page for that kind of thing, because you can have unlimited fans there.
And I was going to ask you. I went over and I read the directions, and I didn't ask for my name. I thought it was going to put my name on there automatically on the unlimited page. I thought it was just asking what I did, so I wrote writer, author, columnist.
And it made that your name.
That's my name. Yes, but no.
So delete that page and start over. You do want it to be your name.
I do want it to be my name.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, maybe that happened on purpose. You should just leave it. And I'm like,
well, no. They want that to be your name. You want that to be your name.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fix that. So now, and what'll happen once you create a page, and I have two pages. I have my personal Leo Laporte Facebook, but then I have a Leo Laporte page, and that has unlimited fanning. It's a different kind of a thing. And it's really what you want. That's where you'd put information about your books, about your appearances, and all that stuff. And then that way you can keep Rhonda's Facebook page for Rhonda's real-life friends.
Well, but then I was told I can't do that I have to close out my other page if I want to invite my other friends.
Well, okay, yeah. And this is the problem I had. You've got 4,800 people on this other page.
And I don't want to lose them. They're fabulous.
Yeah, so you're going to have to live with those. And then just encourage everybody to use the new fan page. And
but how do I do that? I went over to send a message, and it will only let me message like 3 people at a time.
Don't do it in a message. Just put it in a status update. Say, hey, I love having you here. I've created a new fan page. Here's the link. Fan me over there because I got no more space over here. And and that's where I'm gonna put everything. Just do it in a status message.
Oh.
Here's what's going on with Facebook. Here's why you're having the blocked thing. Why they won't let you send out more than 3 messages at once. They have a real problem with spammers. People misusing Facebook. They also have a problem with people doing mass friending. When you first joined, this was a real revelation to me. When I first joined rejoined Facebook a couple of weeks ago, I had to do a CAPTCHA. You know, it says, what is this word and what is this word? Type every time I asked to be a friend for the first 30 friends. Then once Facebook saw that I was only doing a few friend requests a day and everybody mostly accepted, they said, oh, you must be a real person. He's not a spammer. So they stopped doing that. And initially, when I tried to befriend famous people like my friend Chris Perillo, it said, do you know this user personally? To prevent misuse of Facebook, this request can't be sent. It just said no. And that's what your friends are getting. Your new fans are getting. And it happens when, let's say, and you give a speech and 150 people try to friend you.
Right.
Facebook goes, ooh, wait a minute, something's going on here. And and the thing about Facebook, and one of the real problems I have with Facebook is it's so big. 500 million users that everything they do is automatic. They don't have humans involved. So, you know how stupid computers are.
There's no phone number to call.
No, they don't. They don't want you to call. They don't want to talk to you. They can't. If they look it.
My sister told me about you, and I'm like, oh, yay.
Yeah. That's why I'm on Facebook, because I'm like the Facebook help guy, because they can't afford to do it. Thank you, Facebook. So it's think about it. If 1/1000th of 1% of all of their users called, there wouldn't be enough operators in the world to take those calls.
Yes.
They just can't.
I was told, I mean, I think, because I don't know how to make it do it right now, but when I was trying to use this new writer, author, columnist Facebook page instead of the Rhonda Ricardo one, it said I can't add friends until I close out my other page.
Right. So what you want to do is you want to delete that the writer-author thing, create a Rhonda Ricardo Facebook page. At some point, you will be able to. You have to have 20 fans before you can nickname the page and give it a different name. And then you can change the name to be your name. And then people will be able to go to, what you really want is people to be able to go to facebook.com/Rhonda Ricardo. I shouldn't say that out loud because now there's going to be radio people who are going to kind of try to quickly create that page. That's what you want, right?
Yes,
right.
I want to get what we're doing out there.
That's what you want. So, but to do that, you got to create the page first. It'll have a really long, unquotable URL. Temporarily, you could use a URL shortening service like bit.ly. If you said bit.ly/Rhonda Ricardo points to your Facebook page, that you could give that out.
Oh, okay.
So you go to bit.ly and you do the URL shortener. You can put it in your name. And then until Facebook allows you to rename that page, which they will after enough people use it, and you kind of all of this stuff is Facebook's automated attempts to keep people from spamming it, auto-adding people. You'll get kicked off of Facebook if you try to make too many friends. If you have 20 friend requests a day and they're rejected, Facebook will assume you're a spammer.
Rejected.
Yeah.
I don't reject anyone because a lot of the people I don't know them, but if they want to help save relationships around the world,
it's a great thing. But Facebook's dumb computer has decided that you are something not normal. They say basically the machine is saying you're using me wrong.
My fiance says that too, but
you're using me wrong. So what you got to do is act like a human, and then create a fan page. Lady Gaga's fan page has probably 1,000 people a second trying to add her, and it allows it because they understand it's Lady Gaga. It's Rhonda Ricardo. That's okay then. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yes, that
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Winding down the show today, but we'll be back with lots more tech talk. Some of you tomorrow, some of you next week. Don't forget the website is techguylabs.com. That's where you'll find links to all the things I talk about on the show, and the chat room, and our podcast network. Because, frankly, this is just the beginning. It's the tip of the iceberg. We do, I just counted up, I think, 27 shows a week. 7 days a week. Except Monday will be Labor Day. We won't be doing anything. I'm closing the cottage up on Labor Day. One of the shows we do is a great gadget show we do Monday through Friday with this cat here. His name is Dick DeBartolo. Now, some of you are going to go, wait a minute, I know that name. Yes, you do. He's Mad Magazine's maddest writer and has been for 4 decades, but he's also a gadget hound. Hey, Dickie D.
Leo, how you doing?
He's the GizWiz at gizwiz.biz. I'm very well.
I am the GizWiz. We're at Disneyland.
That's what he calls his cluttered little shack there in the Upper West Side.
Upper West Side, yeah. Disneyland Studio.
The Disneyland Studios. Hey, if I can call this the TWiT Cottage, you can call it the Disneyland Studio.
Yes, well, that was a listener. I forgot who it was who I said, it's the cottage. I have to be something. So, yeah. So we have a little gadgety thing today.
It's actually very appropriate. We had a call a couple of hours ago from a fellow who wants to use a camcorder to stream live video to a Ustream. And I said, it'd be much easier to use a webcam. And the truth is, nowadays, webcam quality has gotten better and better and better.
And cheaper and cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
And the gadget today is the new Logitech Webcam C510. So now it's still a high def. The only difference between it and the high end that I had been using for a long time was the 910 that had a Carl Zeiss lens. They tell me this one does not. This one is 720p. This one can turn 360 degrees. This one can fold flat. So comes with a little carry case, so you can throw it in your suitcase. And the list price, $60.
I have to say, we're looking at that camera right now, those of you who are watching at home on video. The quality is superb.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I keep getting emails going, what is that camera again? What is it?
For a long time, I told people, get a camcorder, and, it's a lot of complicated stuff to hook it up, but it looks so much better than these webcams. Because, think about it. A camcorder that costs a few $100s is going to always be better than a webcam that costs $60. Well, maybe not always better. This thing looks really good. Now, they have a big brother, too, right?
Yes, the C910, that's the $99 version. That one, what I like about this one is now that I have guests in the studio, this one you can actually twist it and show different parts of the room. And I also like the fact that I can, just fold it up and take it with me. And it's already down to $55 on Amazon. Shoots 8 megapixel stills.
Wow.
And as we learned from a letter, even though on the website, Logitech website, it says Windows, it works on a Mac, the software doesn't work. It comes with a ton of special effects and adjustments for the camera. So the software is not Mac, but you can certainly use the camcorder, the C510.
That's a good thing to keep in mind, because a lot of times these cameras don't have Mac software, but they're just standard USB cameras.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
As long as you're content with the basic operation. So this is the C510?
510 from Logitech.
$60 from Logitech.
Yeah, and down to $55 at Amazon.com.
Boy, they get better.
Leo, I had such a funny thing happen. I have monitors everywhere like you do, and one of them is always tuned to Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah.
And you were saying earlier, I forgot to turn on the drop cam. And at that time, I looked up, and I happened to hit the monitor where they were showing Stalag 17, and it was a picture inside the barracks. And I'm thinking, where does Leo have the drop cam?
It looks exactly like the barracks in Stalag 17. That's my office you're looking at.
That's your office. That's where the work, I figured that's where the workers must be.
Well, no, it's not. It's where I sit, and it's true. It's not decorated. It's very utilitarian. I got to hang up some stuff there. You used to do Regis and Kathy Lee.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
And I've done Live with Regis and Kelly. In the new era, did it several dozen times, as I'm sure you did. Did you ever go up to Regis's office?
Yeah, I did. Was it nice? I can't even remember.
My goodness! Talk about cluttered. I don't know. And Regis is a small guy, but I don't know how he fits in there because it is jammed with memorabilia and books, and there's just stuffed everywhere. And of course, he's a big Notre.
Everything he's won, any fun thing from the show.
Yeah.
Oh, let's not throw that out. Yeah.
Stick it in my office. And of course, he's a Notre Dame fan, so there's Notre Dame memorabilia everywhere. You feel like you're in Albert Einstein's study, if Albert Einstein were a television host, anyway. It's quite the thing. And I'm looking at Disneyland, and there's some similarity there.
It is similar. We always have room for guests, but not for any more gadgets.
Dick and I do a show every Monday through Friday. You can listen to it, the Daily
Are we still doing that?
No, I've given up on that. But, we've done something like 1,200 of them. So if we start again...
not 1,200. I'm on my way out there.
All right.
4 weeks from today.
Okay, so almost 1,200. And if we just started over, I don't think anybody'd notice. We could just replay them.
Okay.
You go to
gizwiz.biz
for Dick's site, links to all the gadgets he talks about, including this new Logitech camera. And if you want to subscribe to our podcast, it's on iTunes and the Zune Marketplace, everywhere podcasts are. Or go to the website, twit.tv/DGW, Daily GizWiz. Dick, I'll see you on the GizWiz.
Oh yeah, and if you want to follow me, it's at Twitter. It's the GizWiz.
That's funny because I just got my Facebook page and it's the Leo Laporte.
Wow.
And
you can't stand it, can you?
I can't take it, and I'm the tech guy. Thank you, Dick.
Okay, see you in a bit.
Have a great one. Thank you all for being here. If you want to know more about the things we talked about, links to Dick's site, links to the chat room, the video, the other podcasts, it's all at techguylabs.com. My podcast network is called TWiT because at some point I thought that was funny. Now I'm deeply regretting it. But you not Twitter, TWiT. You can find it at TWiT.tv. It's time to talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, all the gadgets, the doodads, the G-jaws that make our life so interesting. And it's really, yes, the toy store. These are the toys of our lives, and yet they're also, if you ask me, pretty darn important. They're changing our lives as much as they are making our lives more fun. If you want to join the conversation, it is a call-in show. Talk radio invented this whole idea of interactivity way back when, and we love to hear from you. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. That's 1-888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. And if you're outside the U.S., we love to hear from you, too. I know we have listeners all over the world, thanks to the internet. You can call via Skype, because that number is a toll-free number, and Skype, and I think this is true of most voice-over-the-internet products, will make that call for free for you using Skype out. So that number for our non-U.S. callers is +1 888-827-5536. Love to hear from you. We could talk about Apple's announcements this week. Certainly that's the big story, although there's a big story coming up this week from Google. They're having a big, following in Apple's footsteps, press announcement on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. They say it's about search, and given who is going to be speaking, including Vice President Marissa Mayer, who after Eric Schmidt, the CEO, and the founders, Larry and Sergey, is, she's like the next person down, Marissa Mayer, responsible for the user interface and search products. So it may be a search announcement, but we are really waiting. And I think now that Apple has said this is what we're doing this year, we're really waiting to hear from Google, their response. It's gotten to be like politics. And now the Republican response to the Democratic address. See, Google, we know Google is working on a Google Music system to compete with iTunes that they say, announce this year. We know that they've already announced Google TV, that they will start shipping Google TV devices this year. We think, based on pretty good evidence, that Google is also launching a competitor to Facebook. Some say it'll be called Google Me. So that's 3 massive products for Google. Why would Google, Google's dominant, aren't they? They really own search. There's nobody can compete with Google at this point. And even though from time to time we see people say, we're the next Google, they all fall flat because Google has this huge, almost insurmountable advantage. They have been indexing web pages for 10 years, 11 years now. And that index, you can start now, but the web grows so fast you can't really catch up. Google can barely keep up. If you had to go back and get everything and then keep up with everything new, it would be almost impossible. And so we've seen search engines. Remember Cool? CUIL, and it launched a year or two ago, and everybody said, this is it. This is the next big thing. Boop. What is the sound? What does the sound those heart monitors make when there's no pulse? Boop. Just no pulse from Cool. It's still around, CUIL, but it's not doing anything. Microsoft last year spent a ton of money promoting Bing, their search competitor, and Bing did, in fact, because of all the marketing, start to grow. And they're doing all the search for Yahoo. That certainly didn't help. And they have, I think Bing now has something like 7 or 8% of the search market. That's a goodly amount. Not compared to the 60% that Google has, but it's a goodly amount. But it's not growing anymore. This kind of leveled off. And frankly, I don't, when I say, if you ask somebody how important is Google to search? How many searches are Google? Most people are going to say, well, it's like got to be 90%, right? It's only 60%. But I think that's because there's a lot of people who just use whatever their computer came with. And a lot of people have Windows and Bing. So that's really, they just never changed Internet Explorer to use anything else. That's probably, the majority of novice users. If you ask experienced users, computer enthusiasts, what do you use? All of them, 100% Google. So Google is dominant. Why would they need to launch other businesses? Why would they need to? Well, because search has also flattened, it is thought by some. See, the stock market rewards not solid, steady profits. The stock market rewards insane growth on the order of 25% a year. And the search market is not growing that big, that fast. And there's some who say search even. And this is kind of the message that Microsoft's giving with Bing. And Google started to give this too, that just plain old searching web pages isn't enough. You don't want search results, Microsoft says. You want answers. That's what Ask.com said for a long time. So Google, in order to keep this insane growth, their stock price, as you probably have noticed, is pretty flat over the last 9 months. In order to get this 25% growth, they've got to find new businesses. Simple as that. And it probably is even prudent given that search may not continue to be the hot commodity it is today. That's why Google is launching all these new products. This week I started using, now they've had Gmail for years. They've had Google Voice, and now it went public a few months ago. And then last week or the week before, I guess, they put phone calling into Gmail using Google Voice. So in your Gmail now, if you have the chat widget on the side there, look, it'll say call phone. You press that button, and you can call any phone in the U.S. and Canada for free. And you can call any phone in the world fairly cheaply. It's cheaper than Skype. The quality's good. I did a radio interview yesterday using Google Voice with Wayne Resnick on KFI, and the sound quality was very good. There's a little bit of delay. It took a little while getting used to that. But the sound quality was better than telephone quality. And there's video. And I've been using, on the Android phones, they're going great guns. I've been using an Android phone now since the beginning of the year, and that integrates with Google Voice in a way that Apple's does not, so that I can make my phone calls on my Android phone through Google Voice. And here's something cool. I've got my Google Voice number. You get one number. This is a free service from Google. You get one number, and you can have it ring every phone or any phone you've got. So you can have it ring your home phone. You can have it ring your cell phone. And when people call my Google Voice number, it also rings my Gmail. I'm sitting at my computer. I just discovered this week, and of course it makes sense. My phone's ringing. My cell phone's ringing. My office phone is ringing. Same call. And my Gmail's ringing. And I picked it up in my computer. My computer's got a microphone. It's got speakers. It was very convenient. I just sat there and made the phone call that way. So Google, and they're giving this away. Now they say this, we're guaranteeing it for free through the rest of the year. I think they're going to continue to give it away because, again, Google's business is not as a phone company. Google's business, at least right now, is as an advertising company. The more you look at the web, the more money they make. Privacy advocates. Did you see this in Times Square? There's a company called ConsumerWatchdog.org running these big ads in Times Square with the scariest Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, you ever saw driving an ice cream truck saying, hey, free ice cream cones, kiddies. Free ice. They don't know. There's no such thing as free ice cream. Give them a complete body scan. We know what you're doing. And it's really scary. It's scaremongering. It's scaremongering. So please understand, yes, Google knows a lot about you, as does any website you visit, as does Facebook. In fact, Facebook, unlike Google, Facebook's got people voluntarily giving them information about where they are, what they're doing, pictures to prove it. And you know who knows more than Google and Facebook combined? Your internet service provider. Because everything you do goes through your internet service provider. You want to make a scary ad, consumerwatchdog.org, make a scary ad about Comcast. Because Comcast, the biggest internet service provider in the United States, I think it's almost 100 million customers, knows everything those people are doing. Everything you do, your email, your websites. In fact, if they wanted to, they could even intercept your secure transactions and watch those as well. I would assume they're not, but who knows? We don't know what Google's doing either, right? We don't know what Facebook's doing either. We don't know what your internet service provider's doing. We do know that the U.S. government has required internet service providers to store years' worth of data about what you've been doing, just in case. Just in case. Everything that you do on the net is stored by your internet service provider in case law enforcement officials should ask for it. And as far as I know, I'm going to have to get an internet service provider on. I'll find out what exactly they're required to do. As far as I know, every major internet service provider complies with this. So forget Google, forget Facebook. Yeah, they know a lot about you that you're voluntarily giving them. What about your internet service provider? Consumer Watchdog conveniently ignores this. By terrifying you about Google, getting everybody's attention about Google, it's almost as if I have to wonder what their agenda is. It's almost as if they're saying, pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. Look at Google. Look, Google. No. Don't worry about your internet service. Look at Google. Don't worry about the federal government. Look at Google. It's misdirection of the worst kind. And anybody who knows anything about technology, if you think about it, your internet service provider knows everything you do. So, look, if you want privacy, maybe you stay off the internet. But Google's not the problem. Google's not the problem. And if you want to use the internet effectively, I think you'll find you end up using a lot of Google stuff. Woohoo! Ollie on the line. Poor Ollie was on the line yesterday, and the show ended before we got to him. Hey, Ollie, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How do you hear me?
I hear you great. Thank you for calling.
Okay, Leo. I'll make it quick here. Yesterday you mentioned some costs. Our monthly costs are becoming pricey. I'm a senior citizen, live on Social Security. Kind of hate to pay $250 for my internet, my home phone. Now we got cell phones with data charges, and it kind of goes on and on. I noticed the point of my question, Apple's announcement, as in the register, they said maybe the new iPod Touch matches many of the specifications of the iPhone and is virtually a contract-free iPhone.
Minus the phone.
Misprint?
There is true. It's contract-free because you don't get 3G and you don't get the phone. So you get the hardware without any connectivity. It's Wi-Fi only.
It's Wi-Fi only. Okay. So
if you're going to look, I mean, I agree that they're taking. I wish there were a clean way to phrase this. They're really getting us, aren't they? With monthly charges and it's going up everywhere. This is why it frosts me that companies like the record companies, the movie companies are saying, "Oh, we're losing money," and we're spending more money on content than ever before. The phone companies saying, "Oh, we're losing money, and we're spending more money on phone service and data service than ever before. The cable companies, "We're losing money, and we're spending more on cable than ever before." It adds up, and seniors feel it more than anybody because you're on a fixed income, and boy, these prices aren't fixed. They're going up all the time.
I've been avoiding things like the BlackBerry, but now I'm becoming intrigued by the iPad. And
well, do you have Wi-Fi at home?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And, you know, I think Wi-Fi on a touch or an iPad. Think of the iPad Touch, especially the new iPod Touches, as basically a mini iPad. All the functionality of the iPad. Just a smaller screen. And not much smaller because they have the new high-res screen. But, I mean, you'll have to hold it. If your eyesight's not good, you might not like the iPod Touch because you have to hold it pretty close. But it has all the functionality. It's the same processor, touch and everything. And if you don't get the 3G, it's very similar. It's actually similar in price, too. So I think for seniors especially, I gave my mother and father-in-law, both of whom are in their 70s, iPads, and they love them. And if you get the iPad without 3G, well, you can get it with 3G, but just not turn on the 3G contract. You have no monthly fees, but you'll be using your Wi-Fi. So you're kind of consolidating your costs into that one thing.
That's the iPad now, which is a little larger.
iPad or iPod Touch. They're very similar, really. The Touch, the one thing the Touch has the iPad doesn't, the new Touch has, is it has cameras front and back. The back camera is not as good as the iPhone. It's a lower res camera, but it's okay. I think it's 940 by 720, something like that. It's okay. And then it has a front-facing camera, which you can do FaceTime calls with if you're calling another iPhone or another iPod Touch. Apple's really limited these FaceTime calls, and I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, see, I don't really do social networking.
Right.
Only a little bit of email. I search the internet a little bit for medical reasons. I'm a cancer survivor, so I keep up on the medical stuff on the web. And I also am writing a couple of books.
Perfect. I mean, this is why I think a computer is so great. Information, you can stay in touch with email, and it's great for writing. So that's you're using a computer very appropriately, but you now want it to be portable. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea. And I also have a little physical condition about sitting at a desk computer.
That's why I gave my father-in-law the iPad, and he loves it because he can sit in his easy chair.
That's what I'm thinking.
He puts his feet up, and he's connected via the Wi-Fi, and you know, 90% of what he wants to do. I wouldn't recommend it, to be honest, Ollie, for writing. I mean, because you're using an on-screen keyboard. Although, you know, you could use a Bluetooth, wireless keyboard with it. But I think it's not a great writing device. But for the other stuff, for surfing, even for basic email, it's great.
Hey, I still write more on my Palm TX.
Really?
Computer. Yes,
oh, well, then you'll like the iPad. The iPad's a lot better than that.
I use that stylus day and night.
Right. How much do you pay for your internet service at home, the home service?
About $44. I'm with the cable.
You might even save money, although you won't have as fast a connection if you turned off the cable and just used the 3G on the iPad. That's $25 a month for 5 gigabytes. But
maybe I should try that. Maybe I should try.
Maybe it's 3. Yeah, I mean, it's you should see how much you use. But then your desktop computer no longer has internet access.
That's true.
Yeah. I only think the 3G is worthwhile if you go out of the house a lot. If you're going to coffee shops, well, coffee shops mostly have Wi-Fi. If you're going to, I don't know, the bus stop, there's places where it's nice to have 3G, but if you're not going, if everywhere you go has Wi-Fi, I don't think you need to spend the monthly charge on the 3G.
I'm about 2 blocks from the library.
Perfect.
And the library has, 24 hours Wi-Fi. Even when the library's closed, you can sit on the park bench.
Borrow the Wi-Fi. So you're set. You're set there. I wouldn't. So let's save you some money. Let's not get the monthly fee, the 3G connection. Let's not spend the extra $120 on the iPad or the iPod. Well, the iPod Touch does not come with 3G anyway. You can't get it with the iPod Touch. Get one of those, and I think you're going to find that's very functional. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. So,
hey, Leo.
Hey, Scott, how are you?
Good. How about yourself?
Very well, my friend. Let me get you.
Excellent.
Let me expand you. fully expanded.
Here I am, fully
It's as
expanded.
big as you can get. So, what do you want to talk about today, my friend?
Well, I've got some reader or listener questions I can answer. We can talk a little bit about Apple TV if you want.
Oh yeah, you want to talk about that? That might be interesting because it's 720p only.
I know. That's kind of killing me. Let's see what else. No apps.
Yeah, that pisses the hell out of me. But that's their, I guess that's their choice, obviously. But I think that really, in the long run, that costs them. I think that was a mistake on.
No DLNA. They came up with their own.
Right.
Their own networking.
That's
sharing.
That's because they want to control it.
Yeah.
They're such control freaks.
I know.
But and this is the sad thing. I mean, Apple used to support industry standards. Well, maybe that's a myth. I don't know. But it seems like they used to support industry standards.
Yeah. No great user interface. You know, I mean, why don't they have a control interface on the iPad or iPad, and iPod Touch and iPhone? I mean, that's ridiculous, if you ask me.
Yeah.
That's even inside their own ecosystem, and
there is an Apple TV remote that they offer.
Yeah, but it's like what, 2 years old?
Yeah, it hasn't been updated in a while.
No 1080p. That kills me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we could do that. I'd love to, if you would allow me a moment to plug the upcoming Jewish New Year programs that I'm involved in. Got one. The start of the Jewish New Year is this Thursday, and then let's see, a week from Friday is the end, and got a big program going on for that. So anybody in LA, love to tell them about it.
Excellent. We shall do that.
No podcast tomorrow for Labor Day.
Nothing for Labor Day. Do you mind that? Is that okay?
It's okay. It's nice to have the time off. But
I guess I wanted to give our techs the time off.
Yeah. Oh, understood. Understood completely. It's just that because I record on Mondays and most holidays now land on Mondays.
You get screwed, don't you?
I kind of get screwed.
And it's a good point.
Not that I'm complaining, you understand.
Let me talk to people about that. I don't know why we have the day off. We only have, I think,
Labor Day. Come on, everybody. Everybody gets Labor Day off.
I bet you John wouldn't mind coming in on Labor Day. Yeah, he wouldn't mind. We're a media company. I always work.
Yeah, it's true. You never get any time off, do you?
Yeah.
Boy, when I was on vacation week before last, I still had to produce content to put up last week. My boss actually posted. Because as you say, I'm in a media company too, and there's no downtime.
I'm going to make all those losers work. Stand by.
Oh no! Don't.
It's your fault.
Don't blame me.
Scott's idea. Who's my billboard today, Tammy? I mean, Luis.
Luis, you have a carbonite billboard, and you have a non-32 live read.
You got it, Bubala. White chick. This portion of the Tech Guy Show is brought to you by Carbonite.com. It's backup done right. Don't worry. Don't lose sleep. Just back it up with Carbonite. Off-site, securely, automatically. Try it free for 2 weeks. Use the offer code LEO. Carbonite.com. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. We'll talk more about the Google announcement coming up this Wednesday, the Apple announcement last Wednesday, all the other tech news. But right now it's time to talk home theater with this cat here, Scott Wilkinson.
Yay!
Yay! Editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine at ultimateavmag.com. He's also the columnist who writes and answers your questions in the Home Theater Magazine, hometheatermag.com, and joins us every week at this time to talk about home theater. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's going well. You know, Google's announcement, somebody said, you know, that's a bad time. That's Rosh. Well, does Rosh Hashanah begin Wednesday or Thursday?
Thursday.
Okay, so they're doing it Wednesday. So I guess they're missing Rosh Hashanah. Okay.
Just by one day.
By a day.
And I do want to make sure that everybody in LA in particular knows that the community I belong to, the Sholem community, is observing Rosh Hashanah on Thursday, September 9th at 11 a.m. outdoors at a place called Rancho Park, which is near the corner of Pico and Beverly Glen. You can go to the Sholem website at Sholem, SHOLEM.org, to get more information about that. That's coming up this Thursday. Then a week from there, a week and a day from there, on Friday the 17th, is our big program observing what's called Kol Nidre, which is the evening that starts Yom Kippur, the end of the high holidays. And my wife and I are the musical directors of a really large program on that evening. So I invite everyone to come out for that. That's on Friday, September 17th. Believe it or not, at the Professional Musicians Union in Los Angeles. They've got a great auditorium and a great sound system and a great piano. So it's a wonderful place to have a program like that. That's at 817 Vine Street in Los Angeles in Hollywood. So again, check the website sholem.org for details there if you're interested in a relatively progressive Jewish observance of Rosh Hashanah and Kol Nidre.
And as long as Google finishes by sunset on Wednesday, they'll be okay. They'll be in the clear.
Right, exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about, now Google, we're waiting to hear what Google's going to do on Wednesday. It may not be a big deal. They sent out some big invitations, however. Did
you get one?
Oh, yeah. Google's not like, see, Apple hates me. That's fine. But Google's still like, I haven't alienated Google sufficiently. I have to work on that.
You have to work on that. Yeah, exactly.
But no, I did get the invitation for that, and I'm very curious what they're going to do. Apple kind of blinked, I think, in their announcement. They had an opportunity. Google TV will run on Android. It will be available, if all goes well, on Dish satellite boxes, on Sony TVs, and Logitech will make a standalone box, kind of like the Apple TV, running Android. Android apps will work on it. It will integrate with your television system.
In other words, they're doing everything that Apple didn't do.
And we thought Apple would do this with a new Apple TV. In fact, they built the new Apple TV on the iOS operating system using the A4 chips, so it could have, but they decided, and I think Steve kind of telegraphed this a little bit. He said, people don't want a computer on their TV. It's too complicated. They don't want complexity. They want simplicity.
Well, that's true. I would agree with that. But I would still say, why didn't he build in the kind of interoperability that would enhance the simplicity? For example, it doesn't use DLNA.
Now, this is an industry standard that lets you, ironically, my Droid X has DLNA built in. So if I have a video or a picture or music on my phone, I can play it on my DLNA-equipped TV.
Yep.
By the way, through Wi-Fi if I want.
That's right. That's right.
Apple TV doesn't do that. I mean, you can play from an iPhone and iPad, but it doesn't use a standard.
Right. It uses, I guess, the new Apple TV uses
this new
Apple standard, AirPlay.
AirPlay standard. Yeah.
But it's a separate, incompatible standard. Right. Again, Apple is, it seems to me, going for the closed system. Now, don't get me wrong. I love Apple products. I use Apple products. I'm a Mac guy. I have been since the original 128. I think I got a 128 way back when. But I'm really unhappy with the things they didn't do here. No 1080p, no apps. I mean, it's on the iOS, right? So you should be able to run any of these apps on the thing.
Well, we think it is because we know it's an A4, so we think, well, it must be an iOS because OS 10 has been ported to the A4. So let me ask you about this 720p. Most of the boxes that do streaming, and I think of the Roku box, the Boxy box, there's a lot of boxes, D-Link and Linksys and Netgear all make boxes. They all, because it's streaming, they all do opt for 720p, which is kind of the lowest res high def, right? It's
the lowest res that you can call high def legitimately, yes. But most broadcast TV is 1080i, which actually gives you roughly the same resolution as 1080p. And if Apple TV is going to give you the opportunity to get 1080i, then it's not quite as bad a thing, because most TVs these days are 1080p.
I don't think it's 1080i. I think it's 720p, and that's it.
Is it limited to that? I wasn't sure.
No, I believe that's the case. I'll have to look at the specs.
So that's disappointing, because most TVs these days are 1080i. Or
You're
1080p,
saying
rather.
they could handle a better picture, but could they stream a better picture? I think that's part of the problem, right? Is the bandwidth available?
Yes, exactly. But there's a little bit of a myth there that 720p takes up less bandwidth than 1080i, which is not, in fact, true.
Oh.
1080i takes up less bandwidth than 720p.
So they should be doing 1080i.
That's right. That's right.
Well, now I'm really confused.
Well,
are the file sizes smaller? Because remember, Apple's going to be streaming them from its server. You're not going to be able to buy and store these TV shows. You'll be streaming them from Apple.
Yeah.
So maybe they're smaller files. Is that the case?
I don't know. I have to actually do some math on
I guess
that.
not, actually.
I wouldn't think so. Well, that's not entirely true. There's the file size. There's how much data is there in a frame, and then there's how you transmit it. And I suspect, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit, 720p probably is somewhat smaller file size, because the pixel density is 1280 by 720. That's what 720p is.
Right.
1080i, each frame is 1920 by 1080.
So there's more data.
So there's more data per frame.
So that may be what's going on, is they're saving space. Here are the video formats that Apple TV supports. H.264 up to 720p.
Right.
30 frames a second.
Right.
MPEG-4, 640 by 480.
Oh, standard def.
Motion JPEG, MJPEG, 1280 by 720. But there's something else that's important on these data specs. The MJPEG only goes up to 35 megabits, which is not super high quality. The MPEG-4 video, 2.5 megabits, not super high quality.
35 megabits is actually pretty high.
Is it?
Bitrate, yeah. I mean, Blu-ray is something on the order of 40 megabits.
Okay. So it's almost Blu-ray then.
Yeah, except that what was the pixel resolution?
1280 by 720. It's 720.
Okay, so they're sticking to 720p.
So that's a disappointment. Now, I understand the Roku box says that they're going to go 1080.
I actually don't know. I have to look into that. Yeah. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know how you do that unless you're hardwired. If you're hardwired, which Roku does allow you to do, you can get enough bandwidth from your internet service provider probably to do that if you have a fast connection. It's tough to do that over wireless.
Yeah, that's true.
And, as somebody who streams video, a lot of video.
Yeah, you stream a lot of it.
We've learned that you can't stream too high quality. We don't go above 1 megabit per second on our video, and we stream standard definition 480p because if we go any higher, most people go, "Oh, what's happening? I can't. I can't."
That's
see
exactly
it.
right. That's exactly right. I must say that in terms of receiving internet content, online content on your TV, I really like the idea of the new Blu-ray players from Panasonic and Samsung and a bunch of others that give you access to Netflix and Pandora, internet radio, all kinds of stuff. And you can also play Blu-rays. So it's a multifunction box that you don't have to add another box.
Right.
Which the Apple TV is, even though it's really tiny, and you could sort of stick it.
Though? You're going to run out of HDMI. Let's take a break. I want to come back. We can answer some questions. Scott Wilkinson is here, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV magazine, ultimateavmag.com. But I do have to talk to all of you who are using Windows about antivirus protection. Please, this is a scary world we live out there, and there are lots of free choices in antivirus, but there really is only one antivirus I recommend. It is Nod32. It is the most effective antivirus on the market. Editor's choice from CNET, 5 out of 5 stars. The prestigious Virus Bulletin said Nod32 hasn't missed a virus in the wild for 10 years. But not only that, Nod32's advanced heuristics, that's what they call it, watch for virus-like activity, detect it before the virus definitions are even available. So you're really proactive protection. And all of this comes at a very low price in terms of performance on your system. Does not slow down your system. It is not bloatware. It is light. It is tight. It is effective. Nod32. But don't take my word for it. I want you to try it free for 30 days. Go to ESET.com. ESET.com/Leo. ESET is the manufacturer. ESET.com/Leo, or call 866-935-ESET. 30 days free if you mention me, and there's a discount on the website if you decide to buy. If you use Windows, you need Nod 32. Scott Wilkinson is here. He's the editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine at ultimateavmag.com.
With a brand new look, by the way. Go check it out.
Yeah, I really like it. Let me just ask, what is the question, could you pick one question as the most commonly asked question? Because you answer a lot of them.
I do answer an awful lot of questions, and certainly one of the most common, I've got several in my queue today, is Panasonic or Samsung Plasma.
Oh, interesting. And is there one you prefer?
Well,
short answer.
Short answer.
Because as soon as you say "well," I know it's a long.
You know, it's a long
short answer.
Short answer is I'm probably going to say Panasonic.
Really?
Yes, at least from this point forward. Now, we've had this problem that a lot of people have reported on of what's called rising black levels.
We talked about that quite a bit. Yeah, we're out of time, so I don't want to get into that. But I do like the simple answer.
The simple answer is I think Panasonic has probably addressed the issue. Their new plasmas coming out are looking awfully good. So that's generally what I will recommend.
Going forward, Panasonic. But I still love my Pioneer Kuro.
Absolutely.
Scott Wilkinson, thanks. We'll see you next week. Leo Laporte.
You bet.
D-Tech Guy.